Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest transformation of your body doesn't begin in the gym. It begins in your kitchen, and more precisely, in your brain's ability to regulate biology through nutritional habits. Let's start hearing your body is not just a container for calories. It is a complex system of hormones, neurotransmitters, metabolic regulators, and recovery demands. When you feed it right, you train your brain and body to become fat-burning, muscle-building machines. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest transformation of your body doesn't begin in the gym. It begins in your kitchen, and more precisely, in your brain's ability to regulate biology through nutritional habits. Let's start hearing your body is not just a container for calories. It is a complex system of hormones, neurotransmitters, metabolic regulators, and recovery demands. When you feed it right, you train your brain and body to become fat-burning, muscle-building machines. Your body is governed by internal clocks, circadian rhythms, that regulate not only your sleep and mood, but also your metabolism. These biological rhythms are sensitive to the timing of your meals, and when you eat can dramatically influence how efficiently your body burns fat or stores it. Early in the day, particularly in the first few hours after waking, your insulin sensitivity is at its peak, meaning your body is more efficient at processing carbohydrates and utilizing them for immediate energy rather than storing them as fat. Eating during this window supports stable blood sugar levels, encourages fat oxidation, and aligns with your body's natural metabolic rhythm. Conversely, eating late into the night, especially large or carbohydrate-heavy meals, sends conflicting signals to your internal clock. Your digestive system begins to slow down in the evening. And melatonin, the hormone responsible for preparing the body for sleep, starts to rise. Consuming food during this time can disrupt metabolic pathways, leading to increased fat storage, sluggish digestion, and impaired sleep quality, which further worsens your hormonal balance the next day. Moreover, late-night eating interferes with leptin and ghrelin, the two key hormones responsible for hunger in satiety. Disrupting their rhythm leads to increased cravings, poor appetite regulation, and a tendency to overeat the following day. The brain, in response to misaligned meal timing, interprets this as a sign of stress or unpredictability in food availability, causing it to hold on to fat as a protective mechanism. The synchronization between light, sleep, and food is essential. When your meal timing aligns with your natural wake-sleep cycle, your body operates in harmony with its evolutionary design, burning fat more efficiently, managing energy levels more steadily, and minimizing inflammation that otherwise blocks fat loss pathways. The liver, muscles, and adipose tissue all respond differently to nutrients depending on the time of day, and understanding this rhythm is the key to unlocking metabolic flexibility. Muscle protein synthesis is a tightly regulated biological process that relies not only on the total amount of protein consumed, but also on how it is distributed across the day. Your muscles operate like a responsive system primed to absorb amino acids in periodic waves rather than a single flood. When protein intake is concentrated in just one or two meals, often dinner-heavy eating patterns, the body misses out on multiple opportunities to trigger muscle building signals throughout the day. Research shows that consuming moderate amounts of high-quality protein every 2 to 4 hours stimulates repeated pulses of muscle protein synthesis, creating a more anabolic environment that supports both muscle growth and recovery. Each feeding acts as a trigger, activating the mTOR pathway, a key regulator of cell growth and protein assembly, while also supplying leucine, the amino acid most critical for initiating the muscle building process. Skipping breakfast or going long periods without protein can leave your muscle tissue in a catabolic state, especially in individuals training regularly or under stress. Instead, spreading protein evenly, such as 30 to 40 grams per meal, maximizes the efficiency of amino acid absorption, balances nitrogen levels, and ensures the body has a steady stream of building blocks for repair and hypertrophy. This rhythm also helps regulate appetite and stabilize blood sugar, indirectly supporting body composition by reducing overeating and improving insulin sensitivity. Furthermore, age-related declines in muscle responsiveness, known as anabolic resistance, make this strategy even more essential as we get older. Without strategic protein timing, the body becomes efficient at repairing muscle fibers damaged during exercise, and the recovery window begins to close faster than most realize. Supporting muscle tissue isn't just about looking strong. It's essential for metabolic health, joint stability, posture, and longevity. The distribution of protein intake also influences hormonal balance, particularly insulin and cortisol, which in turn affect how your body uses energy and stores fat. Consistently activating muscle protein synthesis throughout the day builds not only lean mass, but also improves the way your body handles stress and repairs itself at the cellular level. Carbohydrate timing plays a critical role in shaping not only physical performance, but also the body's ability to manage fat storage and maintain metabolic flexibility. Carbohydrates serve as the body's preferred fuel source during high-intensity physical activity, where quick energy is essential, and timing their intake in relation to training and circadian rhythm determines whether they are stored as glycogen in muscles or converted into fat in adipose tissue. Consuming carbohydrates in the post-exercise window, typically within 60 to 90 minutes after a workout, leverages heightened insulin sensitivity and depleted glycogen stores, meaning the majority of glucose is pulled directly into muscle tissue for repair and energy restoration rather than being stored as fat. This post-training window represents a metabolic opportunity where carbohydrates actually support leanness by enhancing recovery and facilitating muscle retention. On the other hand, excessive carbohydrate intake during periods of inactivity, especially late in the evening when insulin sensitivity is naturally reduced, can lead to inefficient glucose utilization and increased fat accumulation. Aligning carbohydrate consumption with physical activity ensures that insulin spikes work for the body, not against it. By driving nutrients into muscles instead of fat cells, the timing of carbohydrates also affects hormonal balance, especially in relation to cortisol and melatonin. Morning or early day carbohydrate intake can help reduce elevated cortisol levels from the overnight fast, supporting a calmer, more stable energy profile throughout the day. Meanwhile, saving the majority of carbs for the post-training period or earlier hours can help preserve the body's natural rhythm of fat oxidation overnight. During sleep, the body shifts into a repair-focused state that relies more heavily on fats for energy, and consuming large amounts of carbohydrates close to bedtime can disrupt this cycle, leading to impaired sleep quality and reduced overnight recovery. Furthermore, strategic carbohydrate timing enhances leptin and ghrelin regulation, the hormones that govern hunger and satiety, helping to curb late-night cravings and promote sustainable eating behaviors. From a neurological perspective, carbs influence serotonin production, and properly timed intake can improve mood and motivation, making adherence to training and nutrition plans more likely. For athletes or individuals undergoing resistance training, pre-workout carbohydrate intake in moderate amounts can enhance performance by increasing glucose availability and reducing perceived exertion, which ultimately allows for higher intensity efforts and greater muscle fiber recruitment. However, for those prioritizing fat loss, limiting carbohydrates to the post-exercise window while keeping earlier meals protein and fat dominant can amplify the body's ability to tap into stored fat as fuel. This approach supports a hybrid metabolic state where the body becomes more adept at switching between using fats and carbs depending on demand. Carbohydrate timing, therefore, becomes a tool not just for fueling workouts, but for dictating long-term body composition outcomes by harmonizing with the body's energy cycles and recovery needs. The connection between the gut and brain is a dynamic bidirectional communication system that influences everything from hunger and cravings to motivation, emotional state, and long-term body composition. This gut-brain axis operates through complex signaling pathways involving the vagus nerve, immune system, microbial metabolites, and key neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, all of which are either produced or heavily influenced by the health of the gut microbiome. Over 90% of the body's serotonin is produced in the gut, and imbalances in gut flora can significantly impact mood, stress response, and impulse control, often leading to emotional eating or food addiction patterns. The state of the gut also affects leptin and ghrelin sensitivity, the primary hormones that regulate fullness and hunger. When dysbiosis occurs, these signals become distorted, resulting in persistent cravings, reduced satiety, and disrupted meal timing that contributes to overeating and fat gain. Moreover, the presence of certain beneficial bacteria in the gut has enhanced insulin sensitivity, reduced systemic inflammation, and increased short-chain fatty acid production. All which promote better nutrient absorption, more efficient energy utilization, and lower fat storage. An unhealthy gut, in contrast, generates endotoxins and inflammatory cytokines that cross the gut barrier into the bloodstream, impairing metabolic function and interfering with the brain's ability to regulate appetite and energy balance. This inflammation can desensitize dopamine receptors, diminishing motivation and the reward response to exercise and clean eating, while increasing the drive for hyperpalatable, high-calorie foods that further perpetuate poor body composition. The gut microbiota also influence circadian rhythm and sleep quality by modulating melatonin production, and disrupted sleep has a compounding effect on hormone regulation and fat storage. Additionally, high-fiber foods, prebiotics, and fermented foods can act as signals to the gut-brain axis that promote satiety, calmness, and consistent energy levels, making it easier to maintain a calorie deficit deficit without constant mental resistance. The neural signals originating from the gut send feedback to the hypothalamus, amygdala, and prefrontal cortex regions responsible for regulating decision-making, reward prediction, and willpower, all of which are directly tied to an individual's ability to maintain consistent behavior around food and fitness. When gut health is optimized, these brain regions operate with greater clarity and stability, reducing compulsive eating and supporting goal-directed behavior. Nutritional choices that support a diverse, robust microbiome, such as plant polyphenols, omega-3 fatty acids, resistant starches, and naturally fermented foods, nourish not only the body, but also prime the nervous system to perform at a higher level. The gut's communication with the brain ultimately acts as a control center that calibrates cravings, regulates body fat set point, and determines whether the body operates in a state of growth, repair, or breakdown based on the quality input it receives.